Eric, it's okay. It's okay.
Mom, I had a dream that I was replaced by a diverse woman.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, only this time, it wasn't just me. They were taking all my favorite people and replacing them with diverse women complaining about the patriarchy.
And people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film.
Okay. Looking like a complete slob. Hungover as hell.
When South Park's Into the Panderers hit the airwaves, it struck like a defibrillator to Disney's glossy new Snow White remake. In that savage opening scene, Cartman, Stan, Kenny, and Butters reappeared as empowered adult women of color, each jab at Disney's diversity stunt landing with surgical precision. The moment the credits faded, the internet lit up with memes and hot takes. But behind the social media storm, one reaction stood out above all: Rachel Zegler's. Rachel, Disney's newly crowned Snow White, didn't just roll her eyes. Sources say she glared at the screen like a live target practice. Picture someone who'd trained for an Oscar suddenly finding herself on the wrong end of a digital roast. Rumor has it she slammed her phone onto a plush set couch, muttering about unfair stereotypes and misplaced jokes. It was a glimpse of real emotion, raw and unfiltered, exactly what we rarely see from the polished facade of Hollywood press tours. Why does this matter? Because this feud isn't just another celebrity meltdown. It exposes a deeper tension in entertainment right now, the battle between preserving beloved stories and chasing cultural buzz. Disney invested millions to reinvent Snow White for a new generation, stripping away the prince, sidelining dwarfs, and recasting its lead with an actor who could embody a fresh identity. South Park answered with a satire so pointed it felt personal, a stake through the heart of Disney's approach to this clash is a cultural landmark. On one side stands Disney, the empire that built its fame on timeless fairy tales, stories meant to spark wonder in a child's heart. On the other stands South Park, the irreverent satirist that prides itself on skewering every woke fad under the sun. When they collide, the outcome speaks volumes about the audience's appetite for authenticity versus activism, and right now, true authenticity is trending in the comment sections of every Snow White thread. Picture this: a fan scrolls past a glowing Disney trailer only to be greeted by a clip of Kenny wielding a picket sign, proclaiming, "No more sugarcoating." That jolt is South Park's masterstroke, an electric reminder that parody can pack more punches than any press release. And Rachel's reaction sealed the deal. She's become the face of a million tweets, each one dissecting her response as proof of widespread backlash. Early reactions poured in within minutes, tweets calling Snow White unrecognizable, fans decrying the loss of its romantic soul, and hashtags like #bring back dwarfs trending across social feeds. Even casual viewers paused. When a cartoon spoof can upend a billion-dollar remake in just 2 minutes, you know the stakes have never been higher. Conversations shifted from enchanted forests to culture wars overnight. That electric moment became the spark that ignited a firestorm of debate across Hollywood and beyond. Truly, we're at a crossroads. Disney's gamble to remake its crown jewel is no longer just about ticket sales. It's about cultural identity. Rachel Zegler, once the hopeful princess, now functions as a lightning rod in this debate. And South Park? It's the jester turned executioner, daring us to question whether diversity should mean erasing what made these tales sacred in the first place. This opening salvo sets the stage for a showdown between two titans of pop culture. The rest of this story will trace how that initial parody unleashed a wave of controversy, reshaped fan expectations, and forced Disney to choose between honoring its past or bowing to the latest trend. And if you thought this was just another celebrity spat, stick around. What unfolds next will shock even the most die-hard Disney loyalists. Rachel Zegler's name alone had fans buzzing long before the first trailer dropped. When Disney announced that its next Snow White would be played by a rising star with roots far from the fairy tale's classic imagery, social media erupted. Critics questioned how a Latina actress could embody a character explicitly tied to the concept of Snow White skin. Headlines blared like ringtones. Can Snow White be Latina? While comment sections turned into battlegrounds for debates about tradition versus progress. The controversy wasn't just about pigmentation. Snow White's name evokes purity and innocence through a specific color reference, and for some fans, that symbolism felt untouchable. Online trolls seized on it, unleashing a wave of racist slurs and memes mocking the casting casting choice. At the same time, supporters flooded hashtags like #redefine Snow White and #representation matters, applauding Disney's decision to expand definitions of beauty and identity. That clash of voices set the tone for what would become one of the most divisive film debates in recent memory. Disney tried to quell the storm by emphasizing Zegler's talent and dedication. Statements highlighted her award-winning performance on Broadway and her dual heritage as a badge of authenticity rather than a token of diversity. Yet every press release seemed to fuel fresh arguments. One fan tweeted, "I want a Snow White who literally looks like snow." Another countered, "I want to see myself in the princess I loved as a kid." Both sides dug in, illustrating just how personal the stakes had become. In interviews, Zegler sought to clarify her connection to the role. She spoke about childhood dreams and the universal themes of love and kindness at the heart of the story. She acknowledged fans' concerns with empathy. "I understand why some feel let down," she said, while also stressing that stories can evolve without losing their soul. But media excerpts amplified moments where her words sounded dismissive. A remark about updating a dusty script was clipped and shared hundreds of times, fueling a perception that she was out of touch with audience nostalgia. That perception crystallized when Zegler described the original fairy tale as outdated, triggering backlash from purists who felt avant-garde opinions had no place in a beloved classic. Once again, the discourse split along fractious lines. Some applauded her bold stance as necessary for progress. Others branded it arrogance, accusing her of disrespecting a story that has defined childhoods for decades. Suddenly, the conversation had shifted from race to respect, from casting to character legacy. Amid the noise, industry insiders whispered about focus groups and market research. Disney executives reportedly debated canceling scenes or reshooting key moments to appease angry voices. Budget increases mounted, and insiders claimed Zegler was caught in a tug-of-war between creative vision and commercial caution. Meanwhile, fan blogs documented every interview, every whisper, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of scrutiny and reaction. By the time the first preview aired, the casting controversy had overshadowed the film itself. View counts on reaction videos soared into the millions, and commentary channels thrived on dissecting Zegler's sincerity. The question looming over every discussion: can a production company rewrite the rules of a fairy tale without rewriting the emotional connection fans have cherished for nearly a century? It was a high-stakes gamble, and the world was watching. Debate continues relentlessly. Disney's decision to remove live-action dwarf actors from its Snow White remake unleashed a wave of outrage that cut deeper than any internet backlash. Rather than casting performers with dwarfism in the seven dwarfs roles, Disney announced it would introduce CGI forest spirits instead, ethereal beings that flitted through enchanted woodlands with whispered voices and otherworldly glows. Critics argued that this move not only sidelined talented actors, but erased decades of cultural impact, reducing nuanced characters.
This is not Snow White, but this is the movie that they made. And it's like, oh yeah, she's gonna be a girl boss, she's gonna liberate her kingdom. Well, congratulations, you played yourself. This is what you get when you try to push feminism and bullshit girl boss moves on the people
to generic sprites. The uproar demonstrated that representation matters not as an afterthought, but as a core principle of storytelling. Fans quickly resurrected Peter Dinklage's 2022 criticism of a similar industry trend. When Dinklage lamented that replacing dwarfs with animated figures amounted to erasing a community, his words took on new resonance. Social media lit up with his quote, "Calling them magical creatures is code for cutting us out." Hashtags like #WeirDwarfs and Bring Back the Dwarfs trended across Twitter and Instagram, spotlighting concerns that diversity without authentic inclusion rings hollow. For many viewers, the original seven dwarfs were more than comic relief. They embodied loyalty, friendship, and acceptance. Each dwarf possessed a distinct personality and quirk that resonated with generations of fans. Transforming these iconic figures into anonymous energy forms risked stripping the narrative of warmth and humanity. Online petitions demanding the reinstatement of dwarf actors accumulated over 500,000 signatures within days, a grassroots mobilization driven by fans who refused to let a cherished tradition vanish. In response, Disney released official statements praising its innovative vision and commitment to progressive design. Executives spoke of celebrating difference through fantastical imagery, emphasizing the technical artistry of modern effects. Yet, industry insiders leaked documents suggesting budgetary pressures and union negotiations influenced the decision. Many speculated the company sought to avoid accommodation expenses and scheduling demands by relying on CGI rather than hiring a cast of actors with dwarfism. Meanwhile, behind-the-scenes interviews teased what audiences could expect from the new beings: translucent silhouettes that danced among trees and communicated with Snow White through telepathic echoes. However, absent a tangible human presence, critics argued these figures could not anchor emotional stakes. A core element of Snow White's bond with her companions was their physical camaraderie, sharing laughter, meals, and shelter. Without it, the story risked becoming a hollow spectacle devoid of real connection. This controversy epitomized a broader cultural debate. When does modernization cross the line into erasure? As #BringBackTheDwarfs continued to circulate, public discourse shifted from artistic reinterpretation ambition to corporate accountability. Viewers questioned whether Disney truly honored its beloved legacy or prioritized visuals over heartfelt authenticity. And if you thought casting was contentious, just wait until you hear how the storyline was overhauled. Next, we uncover the story overhaul shock. Disney's creative team seemed determined to reinvent Snow White from the ground up, and no plot beat was left sacred in the process. Gone was the tender kiss that broke the spell, replaced by a climactic battle against a power-hungry sorceress. The iconic cottage in the woods was no longer a place of refuge, but a desolate stronghold rigged with magical traps. And the 7 dwarfs, already reimagined as CGI forest spirits, were now footnotes, their story arcs excised entirely. Behind the scenes, screenwriters admitted they had discarded much of the original Hans Christian Andersen tale in favor of a more action-driven narrative. Romance gave way to revenge, transforming Snow White into a warrior princess on a quest to reclaim her kingdom. Trained by a mentor, she wielded enchanted weapons and mastered elemental magic. Viewers who expected camaraderie with woodland creatures instead saw volleys and sword duels, a stark departure from the timeless innocence of the original story. Online communities erupted in discussion. Reply threads brimmed with comments lamenting the absence of simple joys, singing with forest animals, tea with the dwarfs, and the prince's gallant rescue. Instead, audiences encountered dark forests filled with wraiths, political intrigue at the royal court, and combat. While some praised the bold shift toward mature themes, a growing chorus accused Disney of treating nostalgia as disposable. Industry analysts pointed out that blockbuster franchises often undergo drastic retooling to capture broader demographics, but few examples have provoked this level of fan revolt. Research suggested audiences craved more depth and grit. The overhaul felt like a gamble with heritage, trading beloved details for modern tropes. Some celebrated Snow White's newfound agency, but many argued the film lost its soul in the process. As whispers spread of studio executives scrambling to revise trailers and adjust promotional art, fans asked, had Disney forgotten the magic at the heart of this fairy tale? The story overhaul shock reverberated through social feeds, shocking casual and diehard fans. It set the stage for Disney's next big test. Can they once again win back a devoted fandom that feels betrayed by nostalgia's erasure? Within hours of the first teaser for Disney's Snow White remake debuting, fan outrage translated into measurable metrics. Reaction videos and think pieces flooded YouTube, collectively amassing over 25 million views in a single weekend. Ticket pre-sales stalled, with some platforms reporting a 40% drop compared to similar franchise launches. Social media trackers estimated that negative sentiment outweighed positive mentions by a ratio of 3-to-1, while the hashtag #BringBackDwarfs dominated discussions for days. Disney executives responded by quietly pulling scheduled advanced screenings in select markets, replacing them with focus group events in an attempt to salvage public opinion. Insiders told industry journals that several premiere dates were delayed by at least 2 weeks, costing millions in marketing adjustments. Box office analysts recalibrated opening weekend projections downward from an initial $150 million estimate to closer to $90 million domestically, a swing that could threaten profitability after accounting for the film's $250 million production budget. Beyond box office figures, merchandise sales suffered. Early reports indicated that pre-orders for Snow White-themed collectibles were 30% below target, prompting Disney's merchandising division to reevaluate product lines. Streaming services licensed to carry the remake reportedly renegotiated deals to include deeper discount clauses tied to viewer engagement metrics. Disney's parent stock dipped significantly on opening day trading, stinging investor confidence. Analysts warn this misstep could jeopardize funding for future remakes and shift greenlight priorities. Critics of Disney's approach cite this turmoil as a cautionary tale. No amount of corporate spin can mask the disconnect between executives and core audiences. In boardrooms, conversations have shifted from creative breakthroughs to damage control, with some suggesting emergency reshoots or re-edits. For now, the legacy of this film may be defined less by its narrative and more by its stumbled trajectory, an expensive reminder that financial fallout often follows cultural missteps. The clash between genuine storytelling and performative updates has become a defining debate in the Snow White controversy. While Disney argues that modernization fosters inclusivity, critics claim these changes represent superficial pandering. Fans who cherish the original lament that swapping iconic elements for buzzwords undermines the heart of the story. Social sentiment soared after promotional materials were released, with pandering trending across fan forums. Industry experts stress that authentic representation must be rooted in narrative purpose, not in marketing strategy. A veteran studio executive commented, "True diversity emerges when character arcs evolve meaningfully, not when checklist items are retrofitted." That view aligns with grassroots campaigns calling for respect of legacy while embracing thoughtful innovation. Proponents of the remake highlight the need for fairy tales to evolve with societal values. They argue that faithful retellings can alienate modern audiences and that fresh perspectives breathe new life into classics. Yet the line between respectful adaptation and cynical brand-driven gestures often blurs, leaving viewers unsure whether creative teams are truly invested in storytelling or merely capitalizing on trends. Ultimately, this debate raises a critical question. When does updating a classic cross the line into empty symbolism? As fan discussions consider whether a pixelated forest spirit can carry the same emotional weight as a live-action companion, Disney faces pressure to prove that its vision extends beyond surface changes. The outcome of this authenticity versus pandering clash may determine how studios approach reimagining timeless stories in the future. Stay tuned. As the drama around Disney's Snow White remake reaches fever pitch, one thing is clear. This isn't merely a film release. It's a cultural litmus test. From South Park's savage parody to casting uproar, dwarf removal backlash, narrative overhaul shock, financial fallout, and authenticity debates, each chapter has revealed a fundamental tension between preserving cherished traditions and embracing modern values. Disney aimed to reinvent a timeless classic, but in doing so, it sparked a global conversation about storytelling priorities. Looking ahead beyond Snow White, this controversy may shape greenlight decisions across all major franchises. If studios take this as a wake-up call, we could see more collaborative storytelling, deeper audience engagement, and a renewed focus on legacy preservation without sacrificing innovation. Looking back at the key moments, Rachel Zegler's unfiltered reaction, social media battlegrounds over representation, the erasure of live-action dwarfs, and the shift to an action-driven plot, we see a pattern. Audiences demand narratives that honor emotional connections. It demonstrates that audiences will not tolerate superficial updates at the expense of emotional resonance. They want evolution, not gimmicks. The financial repercussions of plummeting pre-sales, merchandise slumps, and stock dips underscore that cultural missteps quickly translate into lost revenue. What's next for Disney and Snow White? Boardrooms are reportedly weighing emergency reshoots, re-edits, and cast changes. Focus groups will shape marketing campaigns, and community feedback may force creative course corrections. Beyond this film, studios are watching closely. A cautionary tale has emerged about balancing innovation with integrity. For viewers, the conversation is just beginning. What happened here will influence how future fairy tales are reimagined. Will Hollywood heed the warning and pursue authenticity? Or will box office pressures keep prioritizing trends over timeless magic? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Stay engaged. Subscribe for our follow-up video where we analyze Disney's official response, explore potential revisions, and peek at emerging fan theories. Whether you're team tradition or team transformation, the Snow White saga reminds us that stories we love carry power. And when they're altered, the world notices. That's the end of our journey. Or is it just the beginning?